By January of 1915, the First World War is only 5 short months old, yet 1 million soldiers have already been killed. The armies of Europe find themselves trapped. On the Western Front, British, French, and Belgian troops are dug into a continuous, static network of trenches, blocked by barbed wire and machine guns, stretching without a break from the English Channel all the way down to the Swiss border. Move east, and the scale is even more staggering. In the freezing conditions of the Second Battle of Masurian Lakes, the Russian army is overwhelmed by a German winter offensive, losing up to 200,000 men. High commands across Europe are staring into a strategic void. 19th century tactics have utterly failed. Throwing waves of infantry directly at entrenched machine guns guarantees mass slaughter, but achieves almost zero territorial gain. To bypass this impossible physical blockade on the ground, desperate military leaders realize they have to look elsewhere. They begin engineering entirely new domains of combat. The first attempt to bypass the trenches happens at sea. Britain leverages its massive navy to impose a strict blockade on Germany, aiming to starve the country by cutting off its supply of imported food. Germany quickly retaliates. They declare the waters surrounding the British Isles a war zone, deploying a fleet of U-boats to attack Allied merchant ships without any warning. That strategy leads a German U-boat to torpedo a passenger liner sailing from New York to Liverpool, the Lusitania. 1,198 passengers and crew drown off the coast of Ireland. 128 of them are Americans, outraging the U.S. public. Look up, and the battlefield expands even further. Germany sends giant airships, known as Zeppelins, across the Channel to drop bombs on British towns, initiating the world's first strategic bombing campaign. Soon after, the skies above the Western Front are dominated by the Fokker Eindecker. It utilizes a mechanical innovation called interrupter gear, which syncs the machine gun to the engine so a pilot can fire straight forward without shooting off his own propeller blades. Pushing combat into the sky and the ocean does not end the stalemate in the mud. It simply expands the blast radius, pulling innocent civilians and merchant sailors directly into the crosshairs. Back on the Western Front at the Second Battle of Ypres, German forces unleash a cloud of lethal chlorine gas. It is the first time poison gas is used on this front. The deadly cloud works, forcing suffocating Allied troops to abandon their trenches. But the Germans don't have enough reserve units ready to exploit the newly opened gap in the line. The surprise is ruined, and a frantic chemical arms race begins. Soldiers on both sides are quickly issued crude gas masks to survive the newly toxic air. Desperate for a backdoor to victory, the Allies land ground troops at Gallipoli, hoping to threaten the Ottoman capital of Constantinople. Instead, they meet fierce Turkish resistance and are immediately pinned down on the beaches. Just a day before those landings, the total war mentality bleeds into outright atrocity. The Ottoman Empire begins the systematic deportation and murder of ethnic Armenians living within its borders, leaving more than 1 million men, women, and children to perish in the Syrian desert. From the chemical clouds drifting over European fields to systematic murder in the Middle East, the frantic attempts to break the deadlock do not bring the war closer to a conclusion. They only expand the geography of human suffering. By autumn, the Allies mount their largest offensives yet at places like Luz and Champagne, hoping sheer numbers will smash through the front. The attacks quickly bog down, producing enormous casualties. The backdoor strategy at Gallipoli also collapses. After suffering 250,000 casualties, 83,000 Allied troops are secretly evacuated in the dead of night. The map is equally bleak in the Balkans. Overrun by a joint Central Powers offensive, the remnants of the Serbian army are forced into a brutal winter retreat through the freezing Albanian mountains. By the end of it all, a full third of Serbia's military is dead. 1915 ends with a horrifying tally. Millions of soldiers have become casualties across all fronts, and yet the lines on the map have barely moved. The technological leaps of the year, air combat, submarine warfare, and poison gas, were supposed to break the stalemate. Instead, they merely modernized the slaughter, guaranteeing that the campaigns of 1916 would become a pure mechanical war of attrition.